One of the biggest mistakes that influencers make when building and selling courses is thinking that more content equals more value. But people don't want a course with 100 hours of content. That's scary. They want to feel like your course made something that was scary and complicated seem easy and possible. And they'll never get that if they don't make it past the first lesson. When they log into your course on day one and see that first lesson is an hour-long intro video, they don't think, wow, look at all that value. Instead, they think, oh, I was right. This is scary and complicated. If your audience is like most people, the bigger and more intimidating something looks, the more likely they are to avoid it, which is a major reason why online course completion rates are often as low as 10 to 15%. Because why would you start something that feels too big to finish? So here are 3 simple things you can do to make better courses without making them longer. First, if you insist on keeping the same amount of content, break it up into smaller pieces. People are much more likely to watch 12 5-minute videos than to watch 1 hour-long video. Another benefit of doing this is that they'll be more likely to log back in later because every session will feel like they've accomplished something. I'm not saying that people are goldfish and that they need something flashy every 60 seconds, but that feeling of momentum matters. We are way more likely to continue a task if we feel like we can see progress. And this doesn't just help with motivation, it also helps with memory. When we break things into smaller chunks, that same amount of information is easier for us to remember. Here's a really simple example of how this works. I'm going to throw 15 numbers up on the screen. If I gave you 30 seconds to memorize those numbers, do you think you could do it? You might be able to, but most people will only make it through the first 5 to 7 before messing up. But watch this. If I separate those numbers into 5 3-digit numbers, it becomes a lot easier. It's the same amount of information, but your brain has a better chance of processing it when I break it up like this. Second, if your lessons are an hour long, you've probably got some excess content to trim out. People shouldn't have to spend the same amount of time on your course that they would if they were trying to get that same knowledge or skill themselves through independent research. The best way to solve this problem is to be more intentional about planning your course content. Write down what you're going to teach, and then give that draft at least 1 revision. Even if you're one of those miraculous one-take wonders that can bring a lot of charisma to the camera with 0 preparation, your audience will still benefit from you having a clear plan of what you want to teach them. A first draft script is almost always better than a first draft thought, and a second draft could knock it out of the park. Third, give them something to do with the things you're teaching them, preferably something they can be successful with on their first try. In online courses and most educational products, we tend to have a bias for information over experiences and application, but information is only one small part of learning. Most real learning happens in the application stage. Ironically, too much information can have the opposite effect. It can scare the learner because it confirms to them that they were right to think that this was a complicated and difficult topic that they should just avoid. If your course gets people to do something instead of just know something, you won't just grow an audience, you'll create real transformation in people's lives. One last thought on this. In the world we live in today, information is not the most valuable thing you can give people. High quality information is cheap and easy to find. People can get it from anywhere. What people need is support, community, structure, and experiences that prove to them that they can do this thing that used to seem so hard and impossible. So instead of making courses that are mountains of impressive but unconquerable content, make courses that build people's confidence, increase their chance of success, save them time, and deliver on the promise that you made to them. You're not selling information. You're selling the promise that if people put in some time to acquire knowledge and skills, something that didn't seem possible yesterday is possible today.